Greetings, it's Bloody Mary, and today's topic is the Darkside Matters. It's a little occult chat on this and that, but always about Paranormal Plus. We have a special guest today, Richard Leal Lillard, that we're going to delve into the other side and also talk about unfounded fears and do they have a base in reality? So many different things. Come join us now and go to Bloody Mary New Orleans and subscribe to the Bloody Mary Show. All right, 1, 2, 3. Greetings. Hi, it's Bloody Mary, and this is the Bloody Mary Show. We're in New Orleans, and we have a special guest who I'm going to let introduce himself. Please do.
Thank you. My first name is Richard Leal. The full name is Richard Leal Lillard. I am known from Ghost Adventures. I'm a psychic medium. I used to be a psychic small, but I gained some weight.
Or the psychic at large. You don't want to go there.
Right.
You know, it happened. That went through all the stages.
There are small mediums at large.
So you do also use tools.
I do.
You use tarot.
I do tarot. I really like my oracle deck more than
the cards.
But I use my cards. I use the I use the pendulum. I use the Ouija board. I do just whatever, any tool that may.
We haven't done Ouija board here yet. I've got a Ouija board in the window. Never used it. It could be a virgin experience.
It could be fun.
It's like right there, so that's not a stretch. But I have different people that use different methods.
Sure.
And, it's probably mediumship that gets the most answers. I sometimes get distracted by tools, but I throw the bones. I have a couple of oracle cards and things like that. I always say I don't have the patience for something to be spelled out with the damn Ouija board. I'm not afraid of it. I don't think it's evil. I don't have any of those problems. It's just a tool.
It is a tool.
And sometimes it's not your tool.
Now, typically when I do sessions, I will use the Ouija board, but I don't put my fingers on it normally. And normally when I host people, I allow them to do it.
Okay.
Because then I don't want to be accused of manipulation. So I let the board talk,
and you spell it out,
and then
together.
I will facilitate, and I'll say this is what it says.
Mm-hmm.
Now, strangely though, I've had some funny encounters with the board back in Pasadena, especially. I had a group of people that they wanted to just channel a spirit. They didn't know who. They didn't care. They just wanted to channel. They just wanted the experience.
Okay.
So they come into my parlor, and we set the board out, and they put the fingers on the planchette, light as a feather, and we raise the veil, we open the spirits, and I said, "Who is here who would like to speak?"
Mm-hmm.
And the board spells out J.P. And the woman to my right said, J.P. Morgan?
That's what I was going to say.
I said, no, it's actually Jack Parsons. I actually know Jack. I've worked with Jack before. He lives right down the street from me in Pasadena. What would you like to say? How do we know that it's you? And he spells out CRJ9K. And I went, I don't know what that gobbledygook is. I have no idea what. The fellow that was across the way said, well, if it's Jack Parsons, and Jack Parsons was a rocket scientist, couldn't that be like a rocket engine? And I went, well, not a rocket scientist.
Let's Google.
And we did. I actually, who do you want to talk to? What do you want to say? And he says, H. Holmes. And the woman to my right said, the serial killer? I played H. Holmes on TV, so maybe. And I said, what do you want to say? And the board spells out BOOK. And I went, all right, I get it. I'm supposed to write a book. I've been supposed to write a book for years. I get it. Mm-hmm. So they leave, and I look up CRJ 9000, which is a jet propulsion engine, and figure out Jack Parsons' book, H. Holmes. And it came up with a book from 1941, Rocket to the Morgue. And in this book, it was penned by someone by the name of Anthony Boucher, whose pen name was H. Holmes, after the serial killer.
Okay,
I really tell you all of that because these writers belonged to this society called the Manana Society because they were futurists. They wrote for the
We know about Hubbard, yes.
But the joke was that they would say, "Oh, I've got a great idea for a book."
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, when are you gonna write it? Manana? You gonna write that book, Manana? You gonna write it, Manana? How about Manana? You gonna write it, Manana?
So same thing with you. You got a book to write, Mignon. Me too. So that's what I'm doing here. I really rented this out for a few years in order to channel and complete a book. I had already sort of written this book a few years ago. It was going to be 3 books instead of 1 book because it was really big. But then the other 2 books never happened, so these 2 are waiting there, and now this book wants to be written differently. So this is about a book, so it's a good anecdote that you brought up. Channeling a lot of things. I'm consulting a lot of people of all different walks of life.
Yeah.
Preferably a lot of people outside the box. You are outside the box. Though you are now inside the box because you just moved here, we're talking within a month.
Within a month. 29 days ago.
Yeah, so you were definitely outside the box.
I was outside the box. I'm still kind of outside
Yeah,
the box.
no, you still are. It takes a couple of years before we decide if the Mississippi's going to chew you out and spit you out or let you stay. So that's a whole other different story. And believe me, she can be a bitch. But she's a good mom.
Yeah.
So many different things that I'm trying to do. And a lot of it, as in days of old, I'm going to consult the oracle itself, the house, the land, the people, and
Absolutely.
I'm channeling through different aspects. I've got the history aspect all day, and now I'm channeling with different psychics who are very much so picking up on a lot of the same things. So you're on the spot because of that. So that's why I want. You know how your brain gets in the way when you go to a place and you know too much and you try to make it fit here and there, and instead of when you don't know.
Yeah, I know that very well.
So if you want to pull out some cards.
Yeah,
If you want me to get that Ouija board, if you want to start a new type of reading right now.
Yeah, let's do that.
I bought this as a gift.
I love it.
And I just wonder if we can, now that they're here and you're here, this is the first time I thought of that. I wonder if there's some form of scrying through these old discs on this old, player.
Symphonian. And definitely the music does enhance spirit activities.
Absolutely.
And, what always makes me laugh. Now, I'm all for people going and exploring and really getting into it. But sometimes when people get into it and they know that music can activate, it can act as a trigger.
It can lift them up. It can make them music does a lot of things.
It does a lot.
And New Orleans is a very music town.
Exactly.
So music goes with everything here.
Everything.
From dinner to death and everything in between.
I like that.
So I do a little dinner with ghost things here sometimes too. I open the gates, I open the way, we invite the spirits to come in and stay. Now, Ashe.
Welcome, gentle spirits. I welcome you. We raise that veil in and without, that you may come, you may speak, you may use our energy, you may be here in the present, that you may live again through our spirit, that you may live again through our words, that you would feel again through our fingers. Ooh, yes, I welcome you. We raise that veil. Wow. Okay. So, before I get into the cards, I always like to just say what I see from here. There's a woman here, and we're talking, when I look at her, I think it's 1870. Maybe a little bit before, because she feels like she's before Civil War. So 1870 to be sort of on the late, but really 1860s. And she is a woman who she likes your red. She wears red. She wears a lot of red. And she sort of is around town when I see her. Red. That's sort of her color. She's a very pretty woman with dark hair. I think she's French. I think she is French, because she's speaking, and I don't fully understand because I don't speak French. I also don't speak Spanish, so it could be. But I I think she's French.
We have what we call gumbo French here, which is a little bit of a patois anyway. It was difficult to.
She likes to have her fun. She comes and goes. There's a man here, middle-aged. He keeps coming from back here, behind my, and I keep getting flashes of, I don't know that he fully died here, but he feels like that he was nearing death if he did not fully die here. There's also there's a young black woman, a young woman of color, and she's interesting. She knows a lot more than what she's given credit, and she's here a lot. There's a gunfight right now. Well, it is New Orleans. It is New Orleans, so that would
gunfight real close. That's affecting.
Yeah, there's. Who are they? But it feels like it's very connected to this house. But that woman in red, I really like her a lot. She's bilingual, and she can be a bad mama. She's and maybe even, but
you had a smile when you said it.
I do.
You're not like neglecting.
No. She's
bad mama jamma.
She can be really. She can be really tough.
But just don't cross her.
Don't cross her. That's the major thing. Don't cross her. Mm-hmm. That's what the cards say.
I will fill all that in after. I figured I'd let you
Yeah.
roll with it first.
The key comes in that talks about unearthing secrets. Mm-hmm.
That's a multi-level card.
So the storm comes. One of the many storms, one of the many hurricanes that come through. Death is the lilies represent death. The letter talks about bad news, but when it is inverted like this, it says bad news sent. So it looks like storm came, this person died, and then the letter had to be sent out
to where.
Let's see. The harvest, the little girl, and sickness. That could very well be associated with the same death. The harvest of the little girl, the sickness. It could be. Maybe she got out in the storm.
Humans. It's not spirit. We'll let you know.
We'll let you know. That was nosy persons. There's a lot of laughter. There's a lot of grief.
What is could harvest be something else? You think it's associated with the death of the little girl for sure?
It could be something else. Harvest, when I look at the cards, harvest can mean a literal harvest. It can be the harvest moon and the harvest time. It can also mean a season. It could just mean plenty as well. Plenty, yeah.
Because there was plenty of death. That I'm going to tell you about. So that's like the harvest could be associated with not just one death. This was a lot.
There's a lot of death.
Because I don't know, being a newbie, you probably don't know that we had the highest mortality rate in North America. Plagues were here every summer, all the time. And the women here, many of them took care of orphans. They were yellow fever nurses.
Yeah.
They took care of a lot.
That I didn't know.
So
yellow fever.
Yeah, I mean we were the number one. Yellow fever, cholera, tripled the infant mortality, complications in childbirth. They were midwives. They were healers, and
then the Civil War
and under occupation. So things got quiet in the Civil War for us.
I would say.
More inside, more rules. You couldn't do this, you couldn't do that. Things went more in the closet.
Yep.
More secret. You had a,
underground.
Yeah.
This is weird, but it just hit me. For a while here, and not that long ago, this was people were meeting here as a church.
Sort of.
That's what
they are now with me, but no. This is the house of Marie Laveau. This is Marie Laveau's house. So yeah, she had all her meetings, all her rituals, everything here. Her mother, her daughters, everybody was here. That's why I got this place.
I wonder.
But let's say, she was probably like she liked red, but she also wore light blue. But she was a healer. You shouldn't mess with her. But she was also very gentle, took care of her children. She was strong.
Lovely. I love this woman, and I didn't even think about that. But she was wearing her red, and she's
on fire.
She's on fire.
Recently.
That's why I was smiling.
And she was a devout Catholic, and she went to church every day, and then she had rituals here. She danced
across
the square, and she had meetings with lots of women, and they would be here. So there could also have been, she had some daughters that might have lived elsewhere and come back. Same thing with Marie, back and forth. Her grandmother built this house.
Okay.
And a freed slave in the late 1700s, one of the first houses on the block.
She was the woman in the kitchen.
She could have been.
She was the woman back here that our grandmother. Because the other woman, the woman in red, they were the same skin tone. I didn't mention that. She was the same skin tone. And this woman, she was in red.
And there was a lot of fancy ladies that would come here to get her services. We got this a few weeks ago with another psychic here. 2 weeks ago. And he's like, there's a man with a gun. So this is a continuing story. He said, there's a man with a gun. He goes, but there's another man. And Marie Laveau and the other people here, she was trying to, you're not allowed to do this in here. You must get out. Get out. Yeah. Like he was going to try to shoot this boy for doing something. And Marie was saying, you're not going to do that in my house. And she had a gun too. And I own that gun.
Oh,
I have
that doesn't surprise me.
And so she was, this is not the correct term, but in many ways, this was kind of like a women's shelter. Not like she sheltered them here, but she took care of it. She made sure they found a house. She made sure they got where they had to go.
This was their midpoint.
It was like a shelter, but a woman's rights.
It was.
Who's there?
That one came from back there.
So kind of like a place where you would gather. She would have her meetings, which were also her rituals.
She would have,
which was also like church.
Mm-hmm.
They do seance and dance, and
It felt like I felt like I was in a black church. I felt like it
was mixed. It was very mixed.
I heard music.
And mainly women.
I heard music.
Oh yeah, they had music.
There's a lot of dancing I see. There's a lot of, and I grew up Pentecostal in those mixed half black, half white churches. And so
with movement and music. And
that's exactly what I saw. A lot of churchy movements.
Yeah, well this was before that was created, I think. So this was originally Catholic with voodoo. So Congo Square, 4 doors down, 4 or 5 houses down, would be where the open voodoo rituals were held every Sunday. The drumming and the dancing. It was the only meeting place for the slaves in all of North America. They had a market there and a lot of activity. And, so she would go to that. And then some of those people would come here. So they would have movement seance. Oh, yeah. And they called them more meetings, especially during the occupation. So there had to be more quiet about things. Absolutely. But other than that, she had drummers. She had squeeze boxes. She had all sorts of things.
There's music.
Other than
your
typical thought of just voodoo drums. New Orleans is a gumbo. Okay. So even voodoo became sort of a gumbo. And it was a mixture, and it had a little sprinkle of some European magic on top, and a lot of Native American Indian shamanism. Or what I practice heavily and say is swamp magic that is here, underneath it all.
Underneath it all.
And so she was a great herbalist.
Mm-hmm.
So she made a lot of physical healings for people, and she was a yellow fever nurse. But then she helped with the midwife, and there was a lot of children, and there was a lot of death. Summers were the worst time.
Yeah.
And so because there was a lot of death everywhere, there was a lot of orphans.
That makes sense.
So there were a lot of children that needed to be found homes.
That's the little
girl,
places. That's the little girls that comes back.
Yeah, and I had some people staying here this week, and they said lots and lots of children. And even though I just had an excess of dolls and put some in my altar room, it's like, they really like that. All of the above. There's when you have clientele coming, there's a clientele that wants revenge on somebody for doing something or daring to do something. There's there's anger and can you fix this? And she might fix things, but not if it was going to hurt someone.
Right,
exactly. She wasn't going to take any crap from
because it's
no offense.
These well, I wouldn't either. I mean, especially dealing with what you had to deal with in that time period. And she, like I said, I hear gunshots, and this man, he's right here.
Yeah.
He's right here. He's holding his.
You think he got shot?
I think he got shot. This other fellow, I think maybe what had happened was that this guy bit off more than he could chew.
And Marie Laveau also worked on her version of prison reform, and she would go pray with the prisoners and the murderers and a lot of people. So she could have also been involved in that way. The court was also directly across the street where Congo Square was, right? The first building, which we still have a foundation of, which I have nurtured and talked to and fed and coaxed back up to, to follow, to come in and be a part of the story. They are the story.
Absolutely.
So please tell me the damn story.
Story.
Channel with me when I automatic write on parts of it. And so I'd already done this huge channel a few years ago. I still have the historic part, done. But there's so many new things that want to be said that are manifesting in different ways.
Yeah.
So kind of that's what I'm doing here. And I want different people's opinions on the place, on the spirits, on the energy.
It's such a good energy in this space.
It is, and I've been bringing it back. And besides that, my grandmother, my great-grandmother, and my great-great-grandmother used to live across the street.
How amazing.
So in that time period. So there's a little bit of that energy as well. And my family's been here since 1718. So I already have had past connections. And
you've been established.
So
my family arrived here in the 1680s. They were French Protestants.
Where did they come in?
They settled in Tennessee, and then they went from Tennessee to Virginia.
We didn't get along with them Protestants.
No,
the French Protestants maybe.
Not even then. They wouldn't have gotten on with them because
that was a great. We just say the Americans, but that would have been different. They weren't Americans. They were French.
They were the French.
Were they Huguenots or something?
They were
that was different.
At the same time, my family they settled in Tennessee, and then after the first generation, after the first 30 or 40 years, they went on to Virginia. So I don't have much of a connection to New Orleans, but I do love it. Went more to Virginia, and they became more English.
Yes, but then a lot of people in Virginia abandoned Virginia and came here. Lots of them, for some reason. So part of my family was in Virginia on my grandmother's earlier side, I think grandmother's grandfather's side, was from up in the Virginia area. And then I looked it up, and they said there was a mass exodus pre-Civil War because of certain things about farming. I don't remember why. And they all came here. So who knows? Maybe we got there.
Maybe we did.
This is some good farmland. I mean, we were the richest town in the country at the same time because of sugarcane and because it was an all year long cash crop.
Right.
So many people poured in here
and it was a port city.
And then but unfortunately, because of the high mortality rate, they poured it and then they died.
That's true.
That's this whole harvest. Came in for the money, but they died. You had a 50-50 chance of survival through your first year.
Huge
so they came in for the money, that kind of harvest. and for the harvest of sugarcane. And a lot of them died because they weren't naturally immunized. Numbers were so astronomical of death. And that's why the women here were so busy, and that's why there were so many children to place.
A lot
of death, but there was also, in our energy strength, there's also a lot of life.
There is a lot of life.
So the music and afterlife.
That is true. And there's laughter and music and children and food and
it's a lot. Yeah.
There's
spirits like that. They don't want to just they come for the music. They go to
how did you die? How did you die?
Smell of the food. They want the zest of life. That is a trigger.
Absolutely.
So it's not just because we have the highest mortality. It's not just but it's the life and the smells and the aromas and
And there is no
there's
other
a dark
city.
side, but
There's a dark side.
Yeah.
But there is no other city in the world like New Orleans.
Well, that is nice for you to say, and maybe there's a few in the world, but definitely this country, I can say that it's got its own.
It's very European.
We are a displaced European colony, and we are the gateway to the Caribbean as a port town.
Yeah.
Every time there's some disaster, whether it be Katrina, which, by the way, today is the 18th anniversary of Katrina. Major day. And I went and visited the Katrina Memorial and gave some offerings out. The most change. It's such a disruption to our town, not just the devastation, the heart, the soul, the spirit of town was kidnapped. This is one of the few times that you met a lot of people like me. Nobody's like me. I don't mean likely. I mean, like you would meet a lot of people that said, my family's been here since the 1700s.
Right.
That's what I mean. And then after Katrina, it's not the same. It's just a little bit of that. But, a few people have made it back that were here a long time. So there's a lot of, there's a lot of decadence, and that will also be this weekend. And unfortunately, decadence isn't as decadent as it was, but yet there are certain churches, speaking of churches, that send busloads of people to come to decadence.
Oh, yeah.
And that brings up my question. Who is the devil?
Who is the devil?
Who could it be? Who could it be? I just can't imagine who. Could it be Satan?
The devil. And I say that because the Jesus freaks come here, the born agains,
and the bullhorns.
Yes, and the crazy. But their churches pay for their vacation to come here and harass anyone on the streets at the time. So they will be here this weekend and Mardi Gras.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And maybe Halloween.
Yeah, anytime groups of people are having a good time, they will come in and say, Jesus doesn't want you to have a good time, and Satan.
Jesus hates gays. Jesus hates Mardi Gras. Jesus hates the Catholic Church. Jesus hates a lot of things. Or they say that Jesus.
Right.
They speak for Jesus.
They speak for Jesus.
But I'm going to ask them.
And that's a good idea.
But I want to know everybody's
going to say different version. I don't believe in the physical manifestation of the devil. I think that the devil gets way too much credit. I think that most things that get equated with the devil are oftentimes like Richard Ramirez, who said that he believed in the devil and he did everything for Satan. Well, that's craziness.
Yeah, that's a little mental. Yeah.
So who the devil is to me is a symbol of my own animalistic nature. It is a symbol of things that you have to overcome, things that may be difficult, things that may challenge you. Challenges can be really great because it makes you grow. I think that can be a really good thing. The devil, in the more colloquial sense, in the more wicked sense, who is the devil? Humanity is the devil.
It's been one common answer, like man. Man that just...
We kill, we destroy, we hurt each other. We don't learn. We've never learned. We'll never learn.
Maybe a little in the scheme of things, but I don't... It's sad. It's just sad.
And the devil that I know, they say better the devil you know. The devil that I know is, it says, yes, we are not perfect. We are not perfect. We are the devil. We are the fowler. But there's a lot of challenges that we face that we have to overcome. And that in the grand scheme of things, in the future, if man is still alive, if man is still alive in the future, we will have faced those demons, and we will have
Balance.
forward and balance, yeah. And there's no literal physical Satan, though I do say that I'm a satanic witch, and it's true. I don't believe in the devil, I don't believe in Satan. Now,
what about the demonic structure that had people that sounded like Satan, the word, and different demons?
That is interesting, because there's a new trend, and everyone is a demonologist.
Yeah.
And it's really funny because they all sort of come from the Middle Ages.
Paradise Lost. That's
Paradise Law,
which isn't even in the Bible, people.
It's not the Bible.
Okay.
It's not the Bible. It's not in there. Most of the things you think of Satan and hell, it comes from the Middle Ages, and none of it was in the Bible. As far as the demonic structure goes, it is humans were trying to figure out what things were. Now, there are dark energies.
Absolutely. That was my next question.
There are dark forces. A friend of mine, for instance,
hungry, devouring,
evil, truly, and they can possess you, and they can, if you give them space to do so, and if you welcome them, they will. And the problem is, I sort of link it onto when you do spiritualism. I like to link it to sort of having a party at your house. Mm-hmm. Now, this is your cottage. This is where you are writing. This is where your studio. This is where you spend a lot of time. Your dinners are here. Now, the reason that this is your space, and you welcome people in, and you say, I like this kind of person, and I like this kind of person, and I like this kind of person. And since I know these kinds of people, I trust you and I trust your judgment. You can also bring a friend. Mm-hmm. Now, sometimes they get too much, and you say, I'm sorry, your friend has to go. Mm-hmm. Because they don't comport with my, they don't vibe with my energy. That's not what I like, they have to go. But at the same time, we're here in New Orleans, and it's a very famous house, now that I know. It's a very famous
people peek in like they were doing, like this.
But you would not just leave the door open and say, hey, everybody, come into my house.
You can't, yes.
Because you would attract undesirable energy.
It doesn't mean they're evil,
no.
but the compounded interest that occurs.
The energy is too much and it doesn't work.
Yes.
And so you have a very intimate setting, and you say, these are the kinds that are welcome into this world, into this room, into this space.
But then again, you can't obsess about having the wrong ones in.
No.
I use the opposite explanation. You're going to a very large concert or a very large club.
Yep.
You're not going to obsess before you go in on how many people are evil and or bad in there, but there is a percentage of them just by laws of percentages.
Exactly.
But if you focus on that, you will attract.
You will attract it. You will draw it. You will be
eaten. So, or you'll be eaten or whatever.
Do I believe in dark energies that can possess?
So, do you believe that was evil or parasitic?
Parasitic.
Okay. Which is much worse than a ghost or
a
demon. So I have to keep my place pretty balanced with things like that.
So.
And I did.
The funny thing about your place, when I went there, I didn't know anything.
Meaning the haunted place feel thing. So it can be heavy. Yeah. So I have to, feed him and take care of it. And it's different times or different ways.
Absolutely.
Plus, this is like approaching the Katrina anniversary, and there the last two Katrina victims. There's been a heaviness over a few days, a few weeks, a week or so. And other times you might not notice anything. Yeah. Sometimes you smell some weird shit cooking.
I would think so.
There's all kinds of ways to look at it. Sometimes they want to hear music. Sometimes they want to help. Sometimes she's crying. Sometimes she's laughing. Sometimes she wants to go out to drink. Yeah. They have moods like you and I have moods.
Absolutely.
Was there something dark and ominous that was in this town for 3 years? Absolutely.
Yeah.
I spent 3 years vanishing, changing because there was something hugely parasitic that was hungry for all of us, and you slip up, and there's a lot of drugs and a lot of alcohol, and you never faced your shadow.
Exactly.
Build a victim.
And that's the thing too with magic, is that this is it's a magic city. One way or another, this is a magical city. And the thing about magic is that it always makes one face their fear. The price is different for other people, for everyone. Mm-hmm.
Oh, absolutely. This is not whoever said it was the big easy is so wrong. I don't know where they got that from. It's like, yeah, it's not easy. I mean, I'm born and raised here. I've got backup. My bloodline's been here forever, so I can skirt over the dark side and walk in between the worlds very easily. So I don't have to feel either one too hard.
Yeah.
But when our good guys were gone, it was nothing but the dark side, which was 3 years worth.
Yeah.
Oh, it was not easy.
I could imagine.
It was flatlined. It was desolate. It was creepy. It was huge. You were always.
And it was creeping.
Looking over your shoulder.
It was creeping.
Yeah. None of that. That's not why we're here. I'm sure this has happened here before with other disasters and things and that people like me and, of course, people like Marie Laveau had to try to deal with. I mean, it was a 3 years worth of rituals. But I'll get back to this other question to go with the whole devil thing. Because I'm going to talk to those guys at Bourbon Street.
Yeah.
That person deals with the dark side. It's like, okay, where, the dark side, I will say it, dark side needs a light needs a dark, it needs to be balanced. But
exactly.
What is the dark side? From a Satanist, what would be the dark side?
The dark side. The dark side is lack of empathy. The dark side is I think it's an egregore.
Well, so was the parasites and the huge thing that was here. Yeah.
They're thought forms.
But there's so many dark sides. To some people, the dark side is someone that deals with the spirit, like we just tried to do.
Right.
So,
exactly.
So it's like, okay, then I'm the dark side. Otherwise, so that there's so many things that people say, well, he dabbles in the dark side.
Sure.
If you just want to take something from someone for no reason, just because you're, that way, that's more dark to me than dealing with a dead person or a spirit.
Dead people, spirits.
But other people and Christians, let's say, anything of the earth without balance, that's the dark side. So that's the devil.
It is. No, there's not one answer. What is the darkness? The darkness, I do believe that the darkness comes from the imbalance in the humanistic nature. And also, there can be interdimensional beings that were never human.
Oh, yeah.
Scientists say that there are multiple dimensions that we can't see, and it's layered on top of us. Yeah. And so, just like
New Orleans is a portal.
It is absolutely, literally and figuratively, spiritually, emotionally, it is a portal. It's a major portal.
I'm used to being in that energy.
You have to walk.
Walking on water.
Absolutely.
Driving on water. Built on water.
Absolutely.
And spirits flow through the water.
They do.
So they travel around.
And that Mississippi River would deposit all of that. That's what built up the delta. Yeah. It would flow and it would change, and it was all of that sadness and all of that pain and all of that greed and all of that anger and all of that love and all of that wealth and all of that beauty and all of that. It's
with a filter, it comes through here at the mind. So when it gets clogged, like at Katrina, and it backs up, and we're 80% swamp, but now the water is filled with oil and greed and body and man-made plastics and problems, and we unearth oozing stuff. It was very primordial when I was young. Very foreign. I try to tell people, no, this was not a demon. This was not anthropomorphic at all. This wasn't a thing to reason with. No. It wasn't in that way, which is easier to handle.
Because we can understand it's human. You were right. It was primordial. It was
under there. So it unleashed.
It unleashed.
And then it had food and we were in. I wrote a little bit about that in my book, but I didn't write the whole book. I did, but I didn't put it out there. There was 3 years of battles with that. And, I used to get very angry at the spirits for constantly putting me through tests and trials in astral dream time at night. And then at a while, it was like, oh, that was training. So I was like, okay, I get it.
If it's too much, you'll know it. Don't give in. Don't feed it drugs. Don't feed it drink. Don't feed it these things that if you already know who you are, Shakespeare said, "To thine own self be true." If you already know where you are and you understand your propensity towards dark thoughts, or don't dabble. Don't dabble. Don't feed it. But
and one of the things that Marie Laveau has brought up is that she does not like the fact that people are layering evil, dark, frankly, quote unquote bullshit stories on top of her. It's not helping her own persona when she was yes strong, yes feisty, bold, magical, taking care of things really out of her time period, actually. If it would have been a different time, she could have been president. She definitely would have probably been a senator. She was. Oh, she could have been political. Well, I guess she was then.
Yeah, and that was the thing, is that people would come to her, and she with her beauty and with her ability and her personage, her connections, she could make things happen in the physical realm because she was so connected. And so it was political.
And she was very psychic as well, and she was much a healer. And it was not just her, though. It was her mother and her grandmother. Her grandmother especially has been coming through quite heavily. Catherine.
I think Catherine
is the one in the back.
Catherine is the one in the kitchen.
And then her daughters, and then other women that were just here. It was about 80% women. And I think that had a lot to do with this whole, women's rights. Not women's rights like we think of it.
No.
Protecting and giving them some strength and alliance. And it was spiritualist.
It was
and we had a much more open racial attitude.
It was
slavery, of course, is always
it's always bad. It's never good.
I can say Marie Laveau, she had a couple of slaves, and they lived here. And her father had a bunch of slaves. He was a free man of color. She sold some. She kept some. She raised some. You cannot go back and judge. Presentism, you can't look at what people did then and judge it with the present mindset.
No, because we're looking at it in hindsight.
Yeah.
And mind you, it was not good. Slavery is never good. Oppression is never good.
Never end. I mean, there's always something.
So that's the point, is that we have to look forward to the future, and we can't put them in a nice, neat box of the 21st century.
And even though the 21st century is not nice or neat,
no.
There are many problems, and there's all this racial turmoil again that's redoing, and it's sad, and it's
a lot of homophobia and a lot of sexism and a lot of
classism, all of
the isms.
It kind of seems it's a little bit better, and then it comes back and rears its ugly head. But I thought there's hope. There is hope, and I think Marie Laveau got along with everyone. She had white clients, black clients, brown clients. Yeah. She was mixed blood, and her clients were all stratas of there. It was not just only other free people of color, only other slaves. No. It was rich people, poor people,
everybody. She was magnetic that way, and even I mentioned Pentecostalism too, which is funny because it was founded by a man of color.
Okay, I did not know that.
In Azusa, California in 1903.
Okay.
Now what you have going on here.
Spiritualism at that time was
huge spiritualism. And then this man met at a little cottage like this, to the point where rich people, poor people, black, Asian, men, women, young, old, didn't matter.
There are a lot of possession type aspects in there, which would have had something to do perhaps with voodoo. Whether he called it that probably wasn't socially acceptable, but in his bloodline, and good possession. I'm not talking about the other kind of possession. The kind of possession when you're asking the spirit
to come in,
but now they all say the only spirit is the Holy Spirit. So
that was what was really sad for my mother too, because my mother was Pentecostal, but she came upon it sort of by happenstance. My father was Pentecostal; he came on it by happenstance. My father was magical. He could tell you things. My mother was Native American, and she was very spiritual. People would come to her and say, "Hey, can you tell me about it?" And she'd say, "Let me dream about it." She was a dreamer. Let me tell you about it. She'd come back and she'd say, "Oh, by the way," and they would be aghast, like, "How did you know this?" And so they started calling her a witch. And because she was Pentecostal and because she was Native American and had been all of that guilt, that Christian guilt put into her, and the hatred of her own ethnic group, all of that was on her, she was so afraid of going to hell, she went, no. She put on these blinders, and then she never did it again.
See, now that's what this will be very controversial. That is kind of what's going on. For 35 years, I've been talking to people about voodoo in New Orleans and the beauty of it, how we shouldn't be, thinking it's evil. But the Protestants and the Baptists and the things that told their own people, like you said, they were so wrapped up in the guilt of thinking where they came from was evil, they didn't even want to look into it. That's not wrong for someone to overlay on you and tell you that where you came from was evil. It used to make me so mad. And now I'm so sad in other countries. It's just this country. And I understand the pain, I do, but I'm sad as well about all of it.
I honor the Loa.
When I more with any of the Native Americans, but your mother didn't.
My mother didn't.
She was in the time period when she had a hide.
Yeah, she didn't. Even when the day she died, she was so afraid she was going to go to hell. And I said, Mother, you would never go to hell.
Yeah, what did you do to go
never.
To hell? Because she didn't go to church enough, or just whatever basic thing.
She says, well, what happens if I die and I get to the other side and I realize that it isn't Jesus? And I said, no God in any religion would send you to hell for doing the best that you could do.
Right.
No.
Have you seen her?
Yeah, I do.
A lot or a little bit?
She comes in my dreams a lot. But the day she died, I know it's going to be 3 o'clock in the morning. It'll be 3 o'clock in the morning. I'll get the call. So normally I sleep with my ringer off. And I at 2:57, my nephew called and said, your mother passed away. I said, okay, thank you for letting me know. And the next day I was so exhausted because she was my friend. We didn't see eye to eye on a lot of things, but she was my friend and I loved her. And that evening, normally I would kick the phone charger in the bed because it has a blue light, which drives me crazy, but I didn't. And at 2:57, I awakened, and there in that blue light was my mother.
Oh, that's beautiful.
And she looked young.
Long dark hair. She was just standing beside you. She had like a very thin little dress that was on. She's just kind of beckoning you.
She's lovely. She was thin. She was my age.
I was 27, 28 when I just saw her.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. That's she was.
Because I know that's all you are.
That's she's.
Because you're like 22, right? 23. Yeah.
But she was in that blue light, and she bent down and she kissed me, and I felt so at ease and so relaxed, so lovely. And then I went off to dream, and my friend, who is not a medium, but he's very sensitive. He doesn't call himself that for whatever reason, but he's very sensitive. Lauren Morgan Richards, I'll say that because he's also an author. But he says, your mother came to me last night in a dream. I said, oh. He said, yeah. He said, you have a lot of owls by your bed? I said, I do. I mean, I have a taxidermy peacock, but I don't understand why. Owls. He said, well, it's kind of like in a book. And I said, a book. Well, I have magic books, so it's possible. He said, well, you'll think about it, then you'll tell me. And the next day, I was doing a client, I was reading my cards, and I flipped it over, and on the back are owls.
And you hadn't even put that into your...
I hadn't even, but they were by my bed. And she was complimenting the owls by my bed, so that she was in that.
So do you think she helped you?
Oh, I definitely think so too. I definitely think so. She's
no longer afraid because what humans put on us to diminish us is gone.
She was,
and she can shine.
She
from
was
all of her bloodlines and be one.
She is.
No, I like her. I just saw that.
Yeah, she's
like, okay. I'm gonna look over there.
She's my friend. My father will come into my dreams a lot. I knew when he was going to go though. Like when I was 4. When I was 4, my father had come down with Guillain-Barré, French polio.
What was it called?
Guillain-Barré.
Wow, never heard of that.
Yeah, it's French polio. I don't know.
It's something different about it. Okay.
I know. So he came out of this polio and he slipped into a coma, and it was pretty critical. I was 4, almost 5, and people would ask me, my mother would ask me, honey, what do you want for your birthday? And I'd say, my father's coming home for my birthday. And my mother would just, she was so, okay. But everyone else would go, oh, bless your little heart.
Yeah.
Which is the same everywhere. That means, you dumb kid. You know? So I said, no, my father is coming home for my birthday. But he died. And was brought back. But he died.
Mm-hmm.
My father had been in a coma, and then he slipped away, clinically dead.
Brought him back. Yeah.
Well, he was dead. He was fully dead. They had just called my mother to say that my father had died.
Okay.
And they had filled out all the paperwork, and the nurse comes back in the room, and my father cleared his throat. First time in months. She walked over to the bed, and she picked up a corner of the sheet. And for the first time in 3 months, my father sat straight up in bed. Hi, how are you? The nurse, she screamed, and she passed out on the floor. And the doctor comes running back in. What happened? What happened? And my father said, I don't know, Doc. I just said hello, and she passed out. And the doctor said, well, let me tell you something. If a corpse raised out of bed and talked to you, you'd pass out too. So my father came home the day and the night before my 5th birthday. And my mother said, well, honey, are you excited? Your daddy came home. And I said, I knew he was going to. And I remember thinking, I'll have him for 20 more years. A little more, but 20 more years. 20 years later, he died the day and the night after my 25th birthday.
I know, it's kind of hard knowing that the whole time, isn't it?
It can be.
And wanting to be wrong.
Yeah. Well, one of the stories that I tell that I wanted to be, this was always hard for me when I was a kid. This was really, 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 really hard. My parents had taken in foster kids. I'm not going to say their names out of respect. But my parents had taken in foster kids. They came from a broken home. And this kid was 1 year older than I was. And there was a brother that was the same age as my brother, and then there were 2 younger boys. And
that's a lot of kids in one house.
That's a lot of kids.
Yeah.
A lot of kids.
My parents really plus you, and how many?
My brother, my sister, and and me. And then
So 3 of you and 4 of them. Okay, 7.
But Rick, this person had the oldest boy was he was always teasing me day and night, and I understand because he came from a broken home and he had to fight for love.
Mm-hmm.
Get it? I totally get it. I 100% get it.
Mm-hmm.
He had to fight for love, and I didn't. My parents just loved me.
Yeah.
And so one day, he was teasing me horribly. And I said to him, you're going to regret that. Because one day I will live in Hollywood, California, and be in film and television, and you are going to die in a car accident. No, your head's going to be cut off, but don't worry, it won't happen until you're 25. And sure enough, I found out.
And, people, this is where you guys, not all of you, some of you, would turn around and say that happened because you said it.
Precisely.
You know, that's
Precisely.
where psychics get in trouble when they try to tell someone, because you're not wishing it. You're not doing a ritual for it. You saw it, or you had a dream, or you know something.
Exactly.
And those that don't say, ooh. You know, it's like, no. You know, like, so
and I
would you not
worried.
say it and not help? Because there is a chance that he could have changed his life, and he could have changed that whole scenario by knowing it.
Absolutely. And
some dreams I have, I make them happen to a lesser degree, and I make deals, and I pray, and I ask.
Yes.
I change.
And I felt so horrible about it. And my mother, who at this point was terrified of witchcraft, but at the same time understood because she had the same thing. She said, honey, You didn't cause it. You were a little boy.
Right.
You just saw it. You didn't cause it.
Mm-hmm.
But it was really hard for me for years because I thought, I said that, and that's a horrible thing.
Yeah, and then that's when other people that are out there that are worried about their psychic abilities, that's when we do the block.
Yeah.
That's when we do the block. I don't want to see anymore. I don't want to know anymore. And then 10 years later, it's like, I kind of want it back. And then you have to start over. Or a different way. And this is common. They have a dream about a death or a dream about something, and they step back.
Yeah.
Or their family tells them, you're evil, or whatever.
Exactly. And that does happen. And it's unfortunate that they are told that they are evil. It's not evil.
You know, it was just like 6 or 7.
I was 12. I was 12 at this point. I was 12.
Well, 12 is a dangerous age because that's right at the verge of adolescence. That's when you can go. That's what. It's not dangerous
but it is a lot. There's a lot of energy that's happening right
things
there.
Changing. The fontanelle's closing. You've got all kinds of things going on, and so you're not going to be as keep your mouth shut when this guy's picking on you. Now you're going to retaliate.
Right. Exactly.
Even though you may or may not have seen that in a dream or a vision if you weren't that angry, because it was that emotion.
It was a lot
that brought it, and that was sad. But that's several.
I was just thinking a better time in the future for me. And wait, you're not in it. But sometimes that can also bite you in the rear end too. So I will tell you a little bit of. I'll tiptoe around this story. This may get it. I was living in Pasadena, and I was a celebrity impersonator. I've been reading cards at this point for a while, and the place that I moonlit as the MC was closed for remodeling.
Mm-hmm.
And I went, oh crap! I have to find I have to make money. Ghost Adventures had asked Patty. They said, we need a place that's really beautiful, that's really haunted, and really. She says, I know this guy. You're gonna love him. I know this guy. So Ghost Adventures came in and I was on the show. But
what if you had a roommate that didn't want you to do the show? What if you had a roommate you didn't like anyway? Or a bad neighbor? Well, it's spell time. Try the hot foot spell. There are many methods on this one. This is Richard's. I use black salt, red pepper, but careful for the backlash.
I had done this spell. I had done this hot foot spell.
Yeah.
I took hot sauce, and I took her dish out of the microwave, and I took some aluminum foil, and I took a candle, and I wrote her name in it, and I poured hot sauce all over it, and I lit this candle, and her deceased mother was her protector, and the candle kept going out. And I'm like, no, you're not. I'll sit right here. I'll light it 500 times. I don't care. And so she's away. She comes back. And she says,
can you call the police on roommate? For annoying roommate things?
Well, because it was just, I don't know. I don't know why I was going to call.
If it worked, whatever.
I was going to call.
But
I did. I called the police. And she said, well, I didn't call the police on you. She called them and told them that I had grabbed her and thrown her to the ground and picked up a kitchen knife. But it was on camera. I had been recording this entire time. So
that is the problem in the world. People deal with their own delusions and think they're reality and take it out on other people to make them do their bidding. And these aren't witches I'm talking about. These are regular people in corporate America and down on the street, which is really where I guess the devil lives.
The devil on the street corner.
Yeah, and the dark side is it's all a matter of perspective, but live and know who you are and deal with all the spirit worlds, but watch out for shitty roommates, No.
Make it you have
to
hold your own. You have to also figure it out. That's just it. You just have to figure it out.
We don't come with instructions.
No.
We have to go through a lot of trial and errors. Let's toast to all the spirit world and close the way. We shall see you. Ashe Marie, and to the invisibles that do surround. Welcome to New Orleans.
Thank you.
Legba. Close the way and follow us in the Holy Ghost of Ross, the mysteries, and Lamort. Legba. This time in New Orleans, next time in Guinea.
Beautiful.
send me someone. Random? You guys want to come in?
Yes.
You have to agree to be on camera, and you have to agree to do whatever I say.
Okay.
Come on. Look like those other two want to come too. I do have a blindfold. If one of you is the cheater. Hey, sure. I was just gonna bring in one random person, but I got 4. So here, you put that on.
Okay.
And then all of you, have you done Ouija board before?
Yes.
Yes,
Inherited
yes.
my great-grandmother.
Yes. Oh, cool. Okay. So you lightly put your fingers, and we'll see if we get a message from the other side. Open the gates, Papa, like open the way. We call upon the spirits of Marie Laveau and her family today. Wherever y'all can squeeze them in. To the spirits of the house, if you have a message to say, will you spell it out to us today? Open the way. Yolali Mamsel Marie Laveau. This is the old homestead of Marie Laveau, where up to 6 or so generations Laveau's born or died and lived, and their spirits are still here. Can you hear us, spirits of the house? Do you wish to speak to us today? Let's see if we get it to an answer. Everybody has different tools. This is not an evil tool. It's definitely misunderstood. I think we've got a letter. It's pointing towards that. I can't see it. It's pointing towards a 4. Does that mean there are 4 spirits that are listening right now? Yes or no? Let us know. The 4. Are there 4 spirits that are here with us?
Oh, maybe it was just the 4 people that I let in the door. Sometimes it's simple.
You're nearing a letter, but you're not quite there. Oh. E. There's an E, and now it's going super fast. It went past yes. I don't want you pushing it back. So if you want to really be good, most of you, close your eyes, and that way, we've got her blindfolded. Kind of went by the yes, and then it did a reverse, and it's going to the center of the pentacle. A pentagram. No, it's keeping on moving. It's turning again. It's going back up towards, and it's stopping at a letter. Okay. Still can't read it. V. 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 What words begin with V? That have to do with this house. What else do you want to spell out, oh spirits? Please spell it out for us today through these friends. So the original cottage was built in the 1790s by Marie Laveau's grandmother. Her name was Catherine. Her spirit has come through to many of us that have tried to connect with us today. She would be one of the 4. Is that a yes or a no? And it looks like we're getting at a standstill in between things. So Catherine Laveau, Marie Catherine Laveau was the granddaughter of Catherine Henry. That's 2 out of the 4. Marie Philomene Glapion was a daughter of Marie Laveau's and a great-granddaughter of Catherine's. And who is number 4? We have a V. We have a V. What else is going to spell besides from the V? Give us another letter, oh spirits. Come to me. Just a second. What is that? Is that a O? V-O. O. Just a little O. V-O-O.
Is there another letter that we need to see? People outside telling the story of Marie Laveau, and they say the most horrendous things. This is not making Marie Laveau very happy. It is hurting her spirits from what we get from the other side. Is this true, oh spirits that are here today, that you hate to hear the nonsense that some people speak outside? What do we got going on? We got VOOB. What was that? B. Y. And that's off the board, more or less. Some of you I know knew how to spell, others did not do it very well. We could get the message in other words, and so who could have been trying to show voodoo? I got 3 guesses out of who would be here. Is the 4th person that we have male or female? See, we can. Can't see me. C. Bay. C. Her husband's name was Christophe de Glapion. Is Christophe the 4th that is here? Is it you, Christophe? He has usually very little to say, but he did pop up last week. Christophe, are you here protecting? We got a yes. Got a definite yes. Hello, Christophe, how are you? So we've got the 4 seem to be Marie Laveau, Christophe, Catherine, and Marie-Philomé Glapion. Is there someone else? Is there one person there that's do so? It's moving on the other side towards a, is that a Y again? Is that Y for yes? All right. Are there any messages for these people? Are they safe? Or are they going to be possessed by demons when they leave here because we use this Ouija board? Let us know now. Our public wants to know. Go. What was that? Well, we had our music box play on its own. We had a thing that just went bump in the day. It's not the night. And what you got, that letter, I can't see what it is, and it is blocking. What?
I think T is underneath.
T. They said, are they going to be possessed? And the answer was T. Is it going to spell out a word? Will it be tonight that they are possessed? No. I do not believe the Ouija board is evil. It is just drawn that way in TV. I also don't believe much about the planchette. We say hello, we now say goodbye. Close the gates. Bye-bye. You know how people go like this and they look through it? Because there was a movie that said that you see spirits that way. Totally made up for the movie. God knows it has nothing to do with that. People just use a glass to move it around. Also, what Hollywood has put upon the poor little Ouija.
Thank you for stopping by. And remember to tell your friends about Bloody Mary New Orleans. You can find me on podcasts. You can find me on YouTube. You can find me in New Orleans at the Haunted Museum when you come to Town in the Flesh. Or just go to BloodyMaryNewOrleans.com for all of my information and social medias. At Bloody Mary Nola, you'll find me on Instagram too. See you soon. And a special thanks to Richard Leal Lillard. Find him on Facebook or at Instagram at Parlor of the Gentleman Psychic. Thanks again.